Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Faith Daniels reporting. U.S. forces in the Persian Gulf have received a major boost. The secret overnight arrival of the amphibious carrier Guadalcanal and 8 mine-sweeping helicopters. The carrier slipped unannounced through the Strait of Hormuz. One report says the helicopters already held practice exercises today. Meanwhile, in the Gulf of Oman, tankers are steering clear of a once-safe anchorage. Doug Tennell reports.
500 miles south of the Guadalcanal at the entrance to the Gulf, 50 square miles of one of the most important supply points for tankers that carry oil from the Middle East was off limits to all ships and aircraft today. Coast Guard cutters marked the beginning of the danger zone, where saboteurs planted mines that sunk the supply ship Anita. 2 mines were cleared this morning, while the search for 4 crewmen and the Anita's captain yielded little hope that they survived. Iranian Parliament Speaker Hashemi Rafsanjani today said Iran had a factory that could produce mines like seeds and would render the Gulf permanently insecure unless the world stopped what he called mischief-making by Iraq. When a U.S. Navy frigate cruised cautiously past a group of Russian warships at the entrance to the Strait of Hormuz today, there was no sign of hostile intent. They have a common enemy here, as indiscriminate as it is simple to employ.
What Iran is suspected of wanting to show the world this week is that it is capable of mining the channels used by America's convoys to Kuwait from one end of the Gulf to the other and beyond. Doug Tennell, CBS News in the Gulf.
To help in the hunt for mines in the Gulf, 7 British and French minesweepers leave home tomorrow. Both governments deny intense U.S. pressure had anything to do with their decisions. Anthony Mason in London has the story.
4 British minesweepers will sail out of their Scottish harbour tomorrow, headed for the Persian Gulf. Only 2 weeks ago, the British turned down a U.S. request for help in the region. Now their Navy is in a hurry to get there.
I think it's probably more excitement than anything else, because we in the Navy like to do things and real things, and we have a lot of enthusiastic young men, and they really like to get out and do their job.
But America's other allies have been more reluctant. France will also be sending minesweepers Monday, but Belgium, Italy, and West Germany have refused, instead calling for a joint UN or European force. But analysts say Britain's decision is more critical.
Europe, far more than the U.S., is dependent on that flow of oil. And Britain is basically the only navy in Europe that can really project power on a sustained basis into the region.
In Britain, Prime Minister Thatcher has been accused of giving in to American pressure. But both the British and French governments say it was the discovery of mines in the previously peaceful waters outside the Straits of Hormuz that finally prompted them to send minesweepers. French officials may have been helped in their decision by a rising anti-Iranian sentiment at home. A magazine survey published this week asked the French who they most love to hate. Ayatollah Khomeini was the winner in a landslide. It will be 5 weeks before the minesweepers arrive in the Gulf. British and French officials insist they're being sent strictly to protect their own ships. But American ships can only benefit from their presence. And in the highly sensitive straits these days, any allied company is more than welcome. Anthony Mason, CBS News, London.
Egypt said today it will hold joint military maneuvers with Jordan later this year. The announcement made no mention of joint maneuvers with the United States that began this weekend. About 9,000 U.S. troops are taking part. Egypt has imposed a news blackout, apparently not wanting the maneuvers to be linked to the U.S. buildup in the Persian Gulf. We'll have more on the U.S. involvement in the Persian Gulf later in this broadcast. Also, all over the world, people converge in harmony to welcome a new age.
Whenever my husband was at work, I was stuck without a car, but not anymore. I just bought myself a little freedom. I bought a Yugo. At $39.90, Yugo is freedom everyone can afford. It has rack and pinion steering, front-wheel drive, and a lot more. Surprised?
We wouldn't have bought a car.
We didn't believe it.
Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo.
Yugo, America's most affordable new cars.
When you buy a pair of Corning prescription lenses that change, it's like getting free light tints, free medium tints, dark tints, and a whole range of free sunglasses. Corning lenses. When you're buying eyeglasses, these are the ones to buy.
Your daughter's wedding.
At last.
And you've got dirty dentures. I just soak them.
Soaking's not enough. Brushing with Denture Cream Denture toothpaste cleans almost twice as clean.
Twice as clean.
Brush with Denture Cream or Denture Gel.
In a surprise about-face, Iran's foreign minister said today Iran would welcome a visit by UN Secretary General Perez de Cuellar to discuss Persian Gulf security. Iran has criticized the UN for failing to condemn Iraq as the aggressor in last month's Security Council ceasefire resolution. The Reagan administration today had some harsh words for Iran, as we hear from Terrence Smith.
As the U.S. military buildup in the Persian Gulf continues and Iranian threats mount, administration officials kept up an almost daily drumbeat of warnings to Tehran.
Iranians should not be deceived. They should know that although the United States has acted in a restrained way, that the United States will not fail to protect its own vital interests.
The Navy is putting additional resources in the Gulf, and we expect to be able to protect our ships.
The tough talk has only intensified concerns in Congress that the U.S. is getting into a potentially endless quagmire.
There's an uneasiness, there's a nervousness in the Congress, and it goes, I think, principally to that question of the open-ended commitment. How long are we committed? At what point will we withdraw? What kinds of tensions have to be reduced? What's the evidence of those tensions?
The president's top foreign policy aide emphasized that the United States is pursuing diplomatic solutions as well as military.
We are hopeful that we can reduce tensions in the Gulf to the point where escorting will no longer be necessary.
But getting out of the Gulf may be far more difficult than getting in. The administration's next diplomatic move is to seek a UN resolution cutting off arms to both Iran and Iraq. That would require the cooperation of both the Soviet Union and China, something that's far from certain. Terrence Smith, CBS News, with the president in Santa Barbara.
A Soviet newspaper charged this weekend that the U.S. is trying to make the Persian Gulf its own private fiefdom. The paper says the U.S. feels threatened by Moscow's good relations with Iran. The Soviet Union seems to be making unlikely friends throughout the Gulf and the Middle East, as we hear from Wyatt Andrews.
A friendship between Iran and the Soviet Union would seem to be the stuff of fantasy, the diplomatic odd couple. Despite years of bitter relations and despite Soviet support for Iraq in the Iran-Iraq war, there is a whirlwind courtship going on. This week, Iran even spoke of using a dormant gas pipeline from Iran to the Black Sea to sell Iranian oil from Soviet ports, splitting the profits with the Soviets. If that doesn't seem so unusual, consider that America, the nation that sold arms to Iran, is the object of Iranian hatred, while the Soviets, who supply weapons to Iraq, is Iran's new strange bedfellow.
It's just for them to maybe to improve the economic situation. Why not? After all, they have all the world against them. The world is, Europe is against them, the United States is against them. Maybe this is one of the reasons.
Whatever the reason, Iran's leap into the arms of the Soviets represents another success for what some say is a clever new Soviet diplomatic strategy. A strategy that has earned the Soviets dramatic increases in influence in both the Gulf and the Middle East in just the last year. The Soviets have not only warmed relations with Iran, but have earned the gratitude of Kuwait by offering to transport Kuwaiti oil. They have publicly courted closer relations with the Saudis and have made history by sending a consular delegation to Israel, a nation the Soviets don't even recognize. The latest Soviet tactic has been to point out that while America is sending warships to the Gulf, the Soviets are sending diplomats.
The Soviets are not quite sponsors of Iran, but at least they used an alleged American threat to Iran to establish themselves, if you wish, as a protector of the whole region against the US threat. It is a masterful diplomatic performance.
The Soviets do want their Gulf policy to stand as evidence the new Soviet Union is less inclined to use force or show force to get what it wants. Hardliners, however, are not so impressed, pointing out the Soviets are behaving like always, moving quickly to exploit a diplomatic void left by the United States. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Moscow.
Charting a course through the Gulf can be a nightmare for tanker captains these days. Correspondent Alan Pizzi tells us about his first-hand experience.
It's a World War I design weapon that two men in a fishing boat can dump into the sea. Dozens of tankers have been tied up at both ends of the Persian Gulf by a handful of these simple mines. This supertanker, moving at 16 knots in a 3-foot swell, is a potential victim too. Captain Yi Chang-sik can't see mines in front of his 1,200-foot-long crude oil carrier. To avoid them, and a host of other threats in the Gulf war zone. He uses a combination of careful course plotting and radio silence.
Tanker ship, this is Iranian warship. Do you read me? Over.
The captain believes anonymity is a key to safety in Gulf waters congested with characters ranging from the potentially hostile
Tanker ship, this is Iranian warship. Do you read me? Over.
to the unexpected.
What is your nationality? Over. Nationality is Russian, USSR, Russian, over.
The U.S. Navy effort to bring tankers safely through the war zone is almost stalled. So far, only one American escorted tanker has brought a cargo out. On this tanker, the U.S. naval presence is not seen as useful. The seamen think it will provoke rather than frighten the Iranians, and that any tanker spotted near American warships could be singled out as a target when it comes back this way alone. More worrying than mines to tankers are missiles and gunboats that target engine rooms and living quarters. This one was hit by Iranian Revolutionary Guards firing rockets from speedboats. Captain Yi tries to pass speedboat danger areas in daylight. A crew of 28, he says, means he's actually responsible for 600 people, the approximate size of his men's extended Oriental family. Safety checks are part of every watch, and each man teaches the next. Second mate Anu Gyu has been hit by a missile attack. His family doesn't know he's back on the Gulf run, but the extra bonus for war zone duty helps put his younger sister through music school in New York. Music is one way to try and forget the danger for a while, but relaxation time is rare in the Gulf, especially on a target this big. Most of the time it's full alert, ready for the potential dangers that lurk over every horizon and under every wave. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, on the Gulf Oil Route.
It's a question of taste. If you had your pick of two cereals, both with 100% nutrition, would you pick the one with just one kind of flake? Or Kellogg's Just Right with 3 different kinds of flakes, plus hearty rolled oats, plump raisins, sweet juicy dates, and crisp crunchy nuts? You're not alone. 3 out of 4 people picked Just Right over every other high vitamin cereal. There was no question of nutrition. It was simply a question of taste. Kellogg's Just Right with fruit or all grain.
Presenting the faucet. Funny thing about faucets, you might think they're all the same until you look into a Price Pfister faucet. Price Pfister faucets are, in a word, fabulous. Since they have a heart of solid brass, the fact is they hold up better and longer. No fooling. Nice, too. They're affordable. So when you're faced with getting a faucet, get a Price Pfister, the fabulous faucet with the funny name.
Jim Edwards, Aquafresh user, no cavities, but facing gum disease and bad breath. Recommendation: 1 complete toothpaste that fights cavities, freshens breath, and helps remove plaque. Aquafresh, more than cavity protection, triple protection.
Since 1984, AT&T has lowered long-distance prices 4 times, 30% overall, announcing the 5th. Now AT&T is an even bigger value. AT&T, the right choice.
It rained again today in Chicago, but floodwaters from the record downpour yesterday and Friday are beginning to recede. People in the suburbs face the job of trying to salvage furniture from their flooded homes. What couldn't be saved was piled up on the sidewalks for disposal. Officials estimated that more than 3,000 homes were damaged by the flood. The Los Angeles City Council decides this week whether to allow hundreds of transients to eat and sleep in a city-owned warehouse. They usually stay at a Mission on Skid Row, but Pope John Paul will be staying at a church next door during his visit next month, and security officials have evicted the homeless. In San Francisco, those who help homeless addicts have found a therapy that works: farm chores. John Blackstone reports.
For many of the homeless, leaving the streets behind means leaving behind addictions to drugs and alcohol. For a determined few in San Francisco, that also means leaving the city behind.
Morning, gentlemen.
Those who once slept on park benches must now rise at dawn. The work in the day ahead is not easy. When he came here a few weeks ago, Larry Rhodes was an alcoholic, living in a flophouse hotel, not doing much other than drinking. Now he feeds pigs.
When I first started doing it, there was humiliation. I didn't particularly care for it. To be frank, I still don't care for it, but it's something I'm doing for myself, and I can live with it.
For more than 30 years, St. Anthony's Farm has provided a country place for San Francisco's homeless. In exchange for honest work, they can have a bed and good meals and a place to think.
So many people have tried here. I don't know how many made it. But I guess over the years I've seen probably close to 15,000 people.
The tough regimen of early rising and hard work provides the first step to a cure for at least some alcoholics and drug addicts.
Coke made love to me. Coke kept me happy.
So now the farm has become the point of entry for a comprehensive program of help, including one-on-one counseling.
I get up every morning, I go to work, I have responsibilities.
Brian Hill has been off drugs and at the farm for a month. Like others in the program, he'll spend 4 months here, then go back to a halfway house in the city. Better prepared, he says, to face life without drugs.
If it's something more than just digging a ditch or picking tomatoes.
The farm has 400 dairy cows and 4,000 pigs. Pig farming was chosen because it's labor-intensive, providing lots of work for the 46 men who are at the farm at any one time. In spite of the often unappealing nature of the work, there is a waiting list to get here.
It keeps you in tune with reality, you know, opposed to using on the streets.
The farm pays for itself and makes a small profit. It also supplies food for St. Anthony's dining room back in the city, where many of the farm's workers once ate. Now they send back the products of their labor, but hope never to return themselves. John Blackstone, CBS News, Sonoma County, California.
The Justice Department says criminals are not done paying for their crimes when their jail term ends. In a report out tonight, a department study group says more needs to be done to make sure convicts compensate their victims as a condition for freedom. One recommendation, an employment program to help ex-cons find jobs so they can make restitution. A controversial church in a suburb of Miami opened its doors to the public for the first time today. But the way the faithful practice their religion has stirred up a storm of opposition. Victoria Corderi reports.
Believers of Santeria definitely follow the beat of a different drum. So different that as the practitioners of this mysterious Afro-Cuban religion are trying to organize a formal church in Hialeah, Florida, an unholy war is breaking out.
Go back! Go back! Go back to the woods!
Demonstrators at the church of Lukumi Babaluaye are protesting what they say is the dark side of Santeria, the ritual sacrifice of animals to the religion's many gods and goddesses.
Makes me horrified. Makes me think I'm living among savages.
Recently in Chicago, police found a virtual barnyard in an apartment. Animals used, they said, for Santeria ceremonies. Around South Florida, there have been similar finds, as well as grave robbings. Church leader Ernesto Pichardo denies dabbling in human remains and says animal sacrifices are necessary.
The religion essentially is positive worship and practice. It does not revolve around any negative uses.
Still, opposition to the church remains strong. Some critics are former followers who charge it is a cult powered by fear and intimidation.
I lived in fear. They told me my son was possessed by an evil spirit.
I would not make any move without consulting them. And every time I consulted them, it cost me $200-300.
For years, Santeria has been practiced behind closed doors in South Florida and other predominantly Hispanic areas of the country. It is a blend of African paganism, brought to Cuba by slaves, and of the Catholicism they were forced by their masters to practice. Throughout Miami's Little Havana, there are Santeria shops called botanicas that sell potions to induce everything from luck to love. This is so there will be peace in the house, she says. But there is no peace in the Santeria war. Protesters are putting pressure on City Hall to pass an ordinance making it a crime to sacrifice animals. The church is seeking sanctuary under the Constitution.
The more repugnant that it is to the general population, the more protected it has to be under the First Amendment to the Constitution.
The squabble over animal rights and religious freedom shows little sign of abating, and both sides believe the issue eventually will be resolved by a higher authority, the Supreme Court. Victoria Corderi, CBS News, Hialeah.
It's the Subaru year-end clearance! The greatest Subaru deals in Subaru history! Stupendous Subaru savings!
Hold it! Instead of a great deal of hype, Subaru gives you a great deal. Up to $1,500 factory cash back or 3.9% financing. Great deals on just about every model, including a wide range of Subarus under $10,000, up to $1,500 back or 3.9%. With cars and deals that good, you don't have to shout.
You've always trusted Woolite to care for your fine sweaters. Wouldn't you love to get that same Woolite care for your rugs and for your chairs? Well, here's how. Woolite Spray Foam Rug Cleaner works so well it removes even stubborn dirt. And for chairs, Woolite Upholstery Cleaner foams away dirt safely and beautifully. Get your rugs and upholstery Woolite clean with Woolite Rug Cleaners and Upholstery Cleaner. Trust Woolite care for rugs and chairs.
Joan Rivers' husband, Edgar Rosenberg, was despondent over his health and business dealings. In a message taped before his suicide Friday, Rosenberg said he felt like a burden to people close to him. The details of the tape were revealed by police as family and friends gathered in Los Angeles to remember him. Rosenberg was eulogized as a man who nurtured his wife's career and deeply loved his family. He was 62 and had been in failing health for several years. It was also a time of remembrance today in Memphis, where thousands of fans came to honor the king. Elvis Presley died 10 years ago today, but for his fans, he lives on. Bill Whitaker was there for the end of a 9-day tribute.
They gathered at sundown, several thousand devoted fans, outside Elvis Presley's Graceland mansion. The mood was almost festive as they came to remember the king of rock and roll, dead 10 years. But as they lit their candles and wound up the driveway past his hilltop home to his gravesite, the mood became almost religious. It's a world only true believers can enter, a world non-believers will never know. The king is dead. Long live the king.
We love him. We always will. We were with him when he started, and we were with him at the end, and we'll be with him later on.
These women were on a radio-sponsored tour from Quebec. They were among the few who missed the spirit.
Somewhere else, we never imagined that it could be this way.
Is it moving to you at all?
Est-ce que ça dérange toi? No.
Today, fans held a memorial service.
He was a precious gift from God. We cherished and loved him dearly. He had a God-given talent that he shared with the world.
Outside the Graceland souvenir shops, others shared their thoughts of Elvis. Major Bill Smith and Kelly, a singer, know Elvis is alive.
He's living a peaceful life, and he's happy, and I'm happy for him.
I thank the good Lord for it, to be the only woman after 77 to not only be Elvis's friend, but to be a recording partner with him.
Elvis touched a nerve in his fans. When Elvis died, he was middle-aged, overweight, using drugs. His Graceland shrine here is shamelessly commercial. None of that matters to the true believers.
You know, it's almost like a religious experience, not something you can explain. You either feel that way or you don't.
One man said today, there will always be Elvis fans. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Memphis.
Some vacations are perfectly safe. You're surrounded by friends. You haven't left the country. You won't even be away very long. Yes, some vacations are perfectly safe. But not this one. It could happen to you right here in the U.S. So don't carry cash. Carry American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
There's a new stone-washed jean from Wrangler, made for a man after his work is done.
But I'm not ready for a house and kids. I just got promoted.
But I want a family.
I want to get rid of this headache.
Anacin, doctor-recommended aspirin formula. Well?
My headache's gone. And this could make a great nursery.
Doctor-recommended Anacin.
My mother-in-law recommended Preparation H for my hemorrhoidal symptoms. Why should I listen to my mother-in-law? She's also a doctor.
In a national survey, 2 out of 3 doctors named Preparation H among the hemorrhoid remedies they recommended to their patients.
Doctors know best.
According to the so-called New Age philosophy, this is a very important day in the life of planet Earth, the start of a new era, and true believers are getting in tune. You'd have to really believe to find inner peace in New York City, but that's what they did as dawn broke over Central Park. While a world away in Egypt, others tried tapping into the power of the pyramids. This dancing dervish came all the way from New Jersey. They did things like that all over the world today in the name of harmonic convergence, the belief that if everyone pulls together, or prays together, or dances together, an unbreakable field of trust will be created, and a worldwide period of cleansing will begin. It was his idea.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Jose Arguelles, an art historian, hosted a radio program today that linked all the so-called power points around the world. Arguelles says ancient Indian calendars show this to be a very important day, a day when the planets are in a rare alignment that opens the door to the beginning of a new age.
The new age is leaning away from the more established norms of politics and war and towards a universal peace on the planet.
Some of that peace and good feeling seemed to pass from person to person as they joined hands. If the experience was wonderful, so were the sounds.
See our unity grow.
And the scenes of the world waking up. But will it work? The convergence is supposed to be an entry point for the return of the ancient Mayans, whom Dr. Arguelles says will be visible as feathered serpent rainbow wheels turning in the air. So far, they haven't been sighted. It was a convergence, all right, of a lot of people who hear the same tune in their heads. That's the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather will be here tomorrow night, and later tonight, Charles Osgood with the CBS Sunday Night News. I'm Faith Daniels. I'll see you in the morning. Until then, good night.
Buy yourself a little freedom. Get yourself a great little car. See how it feels to have your own set of wheels. Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo. Go anywhere you want to, anytime you want. Just get up and go. See how it feels to have your own set of wheels. Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo.
Yugo, America's most affordable new cars.
How does your AT&T long-distance call reach out with such clarity? One of the things we can do is convert your voice into digital signals, blocking out virtually all interference so every subtlety is preserved with a clarity that seems right next door.
Hello. Emma, I didn't know you were home yet.
I'm not. I'm still in paradise.
We're reaching further to bring your world closer. AT&T, the right choice.
An artist
This is
dollars and
CBS.
pays his bills with them. Robert Krulwich with the story of this strange cash experiment. Tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
Coming up on Eyewitness News, some folks in Cheatham County, Tennessee join a global celebration of planetary conjunction today. We'll tell you what that is coming up. And tens of thousands finish out their tribute to the king of rock and roll with an all-nighter at Graceland. We'll have a report. Those stories and more up next on Eyewitness News.
All right, it's another Solid Gold Saturday night. Hello, baby.
Time Life Music presents the Rock and Roll